The background and my sort of personal attributes over the years that I think have put me in good stead for achieving 7 Ironmans in 7 days. From a very early age, my mum sort of testifies to me being completely single-minded in anything that I chose to do. She talks quite openly at races and when we meet people, how I would, wouldn't give in climbing up the stairs, or I would cry until I got myself on the couch, and became really frustrated if I wasn't able to do something. And that sort of continued in most of my adult life. Something I've always prided myself is completing everything. I've absolutely hated the idea of leaving a loose end, and sometimes it's to the detriment of many other things. But I hate that idea of not completing something. For example, being given a particular class at school of underachievers and being told that I wouldn't get them to a particular grade, and sometimes being told no, that makes you want to dig in even further. And then working doggedly again, just refusing to give in and helping kids to achieve what they really deserve when others have said they can't. And even getting to the end sometimes and knowing that failure is on the other side, but still not giving in. And I've experienced that a few times as well, where I've known something is futile, whether it's sporting or whether it's in my career. I've known it's futile. It's been in the back of my mind that this isn't going to lead anywhere, but I've kind of got to finish it. And I think the reason for that for me is, and I don't know what you can read into this, but I hate the idea of somebody else looking in and saying he didn't do it well enough, or he didn't put his all into it, or that was half-hearted. So yeah, my life's like a bit of a checklist of completing things, and if there isn't something that I've completed, it's hung over me, and I can trace a couple of times back, just tiny things in my life that come back to me 10 years later when I remember I didn't actually finish that one little thing. So yeah, and I don't know what that is, other than stubbornness, and I'm not really sure where that comes from, but it's a complete consuming. It must be done. It's got to be finished. And I will regularly go without sleep almost entirely to get things in, to fit them in. Running a triathlon coaching business and a nutrition business alongside my teaching and my training and my family. I'll quite regularly just go without sleep, prepare myself, and dig in and finish work in the wee small hours of the morning. So that's one thing about me that I feel has stood me in good stead. And another thing as well, and again, I've thought about this over the years. A personal attribute is it's a pride in my ability to handle pain. Now, I don't know how relative this is, and I don't know how realistic it is, but in my own head, I'm prepared to experience that. Things like, burning yourself, or taking a tray out of the oven without an oven glove by accident, and just refusing to scream out loud, and knowing that I've chalked one up and proven myself to be quite strong, or whether it's finishing a session on a treadmill and can feel the bile rising in my stomach and that I'm going to be sick, but not stopping. In the sporting sense, I kind of know that's an adaptation. It's something that I'm going to gain. But again, it's sort of like it crosses over many areas of my life. That I'll go out there when it's absolutely raining, when everyone else will shy off, and when people ask me what sort of conditions I like when I'm racing, and I say the worst. If I'm going to do a race and I'm going to pick something, people think it's ridiculous, but I'll pick the worst. I'll pick the hardest Ironman. I'll pick the worst conditions sportive historically, where we know it's going to be lash and rain because it's in November. Again, I'm not really sure where that comes from or why that is, but it's kind of something inbuilt in me. It's almost like I find it quite humorous. I find it doesn't scare me, it puts a smile on my face. And I think there's a little bit of an advantage there, because I always feel that if I've got a good mindset towards the worst conditions, that there's some value in that regarding performance, that I've got one up on people. So to run in the rain, to go out into the fells when I know that you shouldn't be going out because it's 3 degrees, and wrapping up warm, but making sure that ensure that I'm not getting sort of ice crystals in my chest from the sub-zero temperatures. But yeah, I will sort of push myself in a sporting sense. I know it makes sense, and I know that is useful. In a personal sense, so just being able to bear pain, it's something that I've never really thought about it, but it could be something from being a kid, and suffering as a kid, through a lot of the personal things that I went through with my own upbringing, but knowing that I could handle a lot of pain. Obviously, something I'm not going to get into, but there were areas in my life where I suffered some quite physical pain, and I wouldn't let it beat me. So yeah, on a very personal level, things that happened to me growing up when I had to endure quite serious pain. And I kind of feel now sometimes that when I'm out there, I can push myself to levels of pain that I know. I look around and I think to myself that there are people around me suffering, but you're not suffering as much as I am. I may not be the fastest and fittest, but I can guarantee in my head again, I feel this is very, very sort of like relative to me. In my head, I am pushing myself harder than anybody else, that if pain could be monitored and evaluated definitively, that I have got that ability to go that extra measure. I'm not frightened to visit those areas of pain. So they're sort of two elements. I think the other element of my personality that I think has stood me in good stead is my kind of yearning to see where ultimate failure is, my quest to see where my limit is and push myself. I find it interesting to see where that point would be, where I'm a quivering wreck on the floor and I can't move and I'm crying and wishing I never done this. And it didn't come in any of my escapades with British Triathlon and the British team, and it didn't come during my 7 Ironmans up until the very, very last day, when I wasn't able to get nutrition properly. I'll talk about that in a little while. But I still don't feel that I've took myself to a dangerous level of pain or challenge or endurance. I really don't. And that's a bit of a quest to find out what it is. I think another thing as well is if I go back over my life and very quickly tell you the sort of things that I've done for a career or the things that I've sought out for excitement. Leaving college, was supposed to become an architect, studied art and computers, and then changed my mind and decided I want to become an actor, and then pursued that and trained as an actor and had a fantastic career for a few years, and then wasn't happy with that lifestyle and then changed and became a teacher, and retrained and did that for many, many years alongside. I was in a band and we did really well and did a lot of live gigs, big gigs in huge stadium sort of things in festivals. And then obviously into the triathlon and the sport and finding a lot of great results in that as well. So sometimes people say to me, "Oh, you do a bit of everything, don't you?" And I think there's some merit in that as well. Again, psychologically, I'm not sure why that is, but it's like, not that I'm never happy, but I'm absolutely more than happy to change direction or try something new or possibly attempt the things that people lie in their beds and dream about. If that makes sense, I'll give it a go. I will. I always feel life's too short, and I don't want to get to a point in my life where I regret not doing something, or I don't leave the legacy to my children that you can go out and do amazing things if you wish. So yeah, there's a lot wrapped up there in the psychology, and if I went into a little bit more about my childhood, then that possibly would make more sense. It's making a bit more sense to me as I'm saying it out loud now. But touching upon earlier on the broken home and the very volatile family upbringing, could possibly shed some light on that. So that's a little bit about me and possibly what makes me tick. In my later years, more recently, the last 5 or 6 years, I've had this absolute burning goal of just delivering to my children a way of life that tells them that anything is possible. Basically, that I don't care what it is they choose. They don't have to follow my footsteps at all, but that they don't settle for mediocrity, whether that's physical or whether that's in their private life or whether that's in their their careers that they choose. That you put the work and effort in and the sacrifice, and that comes through sort of really, really focus and dedicating yourself to something, that anything's possible. So that's another thing that I'd like to sort of leave my kids with. And I think that's possibly my biggest driving force now. Eclipses the other things. If I had to choose one thing, it would be that, to show my children that it's scary, but sometimes the scarier it is, that the bigger the reward at the end. Yeah. So the next video I'll talk a little bit about preparation for the 7 Ironmans.